Hello, hello.
ฮัลโหลสวัสดีครับ
Good.
Eric can you hear me
I can. Good. Good
okay
evening.
good evening so okay can you hear me okay
Yes. Yes.
okay great so now it's already 8 p.m. in Thailand so can we start now are you ready
Absolutely.
yes โอเคสวัสดีทุกท่านนะครับเดี๋ยวผมขออนุญาตอันมิวนิดนึงนะฮะแล้วก็พี่หมีเป็นโคโฮสผมหน่อยนะครับคอยรบกวนช่วย accept คนที่เข้ามานะฮะบางทีผมไม่เห็นเนาะกับช่วยมิวบางท่านนะฮะขอบคุณพี่หมีครับ so good evening everybody I'm Olaling Musikawong I'm a OB guy in Thailand as you know so today we have the great honor to invite Mr. Eric Olsen who is the CEO of the Consensus that the great application and software to use for the research. So if you have any question, please feel free to ask Eric. But by the way, Eric, could you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. Absolutely an honor to be here. My name is Eric Olson. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Consensus. We are a US-based startup. I am based in the Boston, Massachusetts area, which is in the northeast of the country by New York City. It is 9 a.m. here at our time. I'm really happy to be showing you guys our tool today. I'll give you a walkthrough of what it is, how people are using it, what the value they get out of it, and I'd also love to give a demo. Through all of this, feel free to interrupt at any point in time and ask questions. I'll leave some time after questions, but we're a young American technology startup, so we like to keep things informal. So you are always welcome to interrupt and ask questions. That's the way that we'll get the most out of this presentation. But I'm very excited to be speaking to you all today.
Yeah, so okay, thank you, Eric. So now the audience was the researcher in Thailand. Some are the doctors, some are the pharmacists, but all of them are very interesting to do the research. So now I accept you as a co-host, so you can do the presentation. Please, over to you. Can you share the screen?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Yes, now you're already a co-host, so you can share your screen.
Fantastic.
So please.
Can you all see the screen?
หมายถึงตอนที่มันทะเลาะกับเขาด้วยเรื่องไม่เป็นเรื่อง
All right. You want me to get right into it?
Yes. Of course, now I can see your screen.
Great. So, as I mentioned, I'm excited to be sharing with you all Consensus today. So, first question on everybody's mind, if you haven't already used the tool, is what is Consensus? So, Consensus is an AI-powered search engine for academic and scientific research. That ordering of operations is extremely important. It is a search engine first with an AI built around it. What that means is it combines the rigor and reliability of a traditional academic search product with many of the delightful, time-saving, efficiency-gaining qualities of artificial intelligence. I'll get right into the product in a second. Those screenshots are a little outdated, but again, think of it as a search engine with ChatGPT around it to help make the process more efficient. What that works in practice is every time that you execute a search, we will first and foremost find the most relevant research papers to your question, and then we will find you insights with our language models in those papers. So every single thing you look at in the product, you are always going to be one click away from the underlying scientific study that powers that answer. We are not a chatbot just generating you text. Search first, then generate answers. You are always one click away from your research paper. Super important question we always get is what is in the corpus? We have 210 million research papers across all domains of science through a partnership we have with the Semantic Scholar team. If you guys are familiar with the database PubMed, all of that is within our product. About half of all of that 210 million comes from biomedical research, which I imagine would be most relevant for those on the call. In most of the most reputable journals, we have coverage in. On some, we have full text access. On others, you would have to have full text access yourself, where we can only get the abstract. We can show you more on that later. To quickly talk about what is different from the traditional ways that people search for scientific research. There's a lot. It's a very, very different experience. There's a lot of things that we've added to try to make this experience better for everybody. Not many people are very happy with the ways that they traditionally go out and try to find and digest research. I think that's pretty fair to say. So it first starts with search. When you're traditionally searching, you have to kind of hack your keywords together to find the right papers. In the world of language models, that no longer is the case. We have custom, flexible semantic search. You can type in natural language questions. You can actually ask the question that is on your mind. You can even ask it in a more conversational way. On top of that, we use a lot of custom techniques underneath the hood that are designed for this search process. And we believe we have the best relevance on the market. Meaning when you ask a question, we're really good at finding papers that are related to the intent of that question. You can't say the same for most old scientific search products. The second line, AI capabilities, is fairly obvious. The Google Scholars and PubMeds of the world, or your university databases, they don't have any. They just deliver you a list of links to papers. We have a lot. I'll show you more when we get in the paper, or when we get in the product, but every single result, we pull out insights from the paper for you using language models. On top of that, we use language models to synthesize insights across papers. So we can give you an overview of multiple papers at the same time. And we use language models and AI to help you go deeper into a paper if you want. I'll show you more what that means here in a second. But the way to think of it is we use AI to find you answers and insights on a paper level, across papers, and if you want to go deeper into a paper. This third one is really important, and it's you think of AI traditionally as helping with quicker time saving, finding new answers across papers, but you don't always realize it can also do other things to help augment research and understanding the quality of research. So we use models to predict the design of the study to give you an insight of, is this a randomized controlled trial? Is this an observational study? We use language models to pull out the sample size of the study to help you understand is something likely to be a well-powered study. We also have a filter in our product for only human studies that is powered by artificial intelligence. So all of those go under the umbrella of using AI, not just to make your life easier and faster, but also to helping guide you to more high quality research. There's a lot more on the way here. There's a lot more that can be done, and we're excited to keep investing in this line. And then this last one isn't really as splashy. It's not as AI driven, but we do have some workflow features that we're adding to the product, like saving lists, sharing results, bookmarking papers. We're going to keep adding to that. It's another thing that a lot of traditional academic search products haven't looked to add themselves. And as a technology startup, we want to build all the features that a researcher or doctor is using within the product. Awesome. Last slide, and then I'll go right into the product. So just some more overview information. Who is Consensus for? How have we been out in the market? Simply put, Consensus is designed to make research faster, more efficient, and more effective for students, researchers, and doctors. We launched a little over a year ago. We actually have over 1 million people using the product today. We have users at over 5,000 unique global universities and 500 unique hospitals across the world. Use cases have ranged from students and researchers doing literature reviews to doctors answering patient questions, to anybody, whether you're a novice or an expert conducting background research on the topic of their choice. And when we speak to doctors, what we typically hear, in America at least, that usually when they're searching and they're trying to do quick research, they either just use Google, which is a little concerning, or they search on PubMed. And this represents a perfect intermediary between the two. It has the content of PubMed, but it has the ease, accessibility, intuitiveness of Google. And it's hopefully been a useful product for folks who are using it in that way. And then on the right, I have some fun tweets of us out in the wild of people talking about how they've used us and the usefulness they've gotten. If you don't mind, I'll go right into the product and start showing it off.
Yes, please. So,
yeah, there's anything you want to add, please?
yes. I'm not sure there's one person who leave the questions. Should we answer now or just at the end of the session?
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you for using our GPT. I can touch on that in a second. We have our product connects to the GPT store and allows for our data to go into the GPT, and we have a lot of users who use that and love it. Question is about using Consensus for literature review. Yeah, it's a great question. Traditionally right now, we've been used to augment literature reviews to help make it more efficient. We're not completely automating it away, and depending on what you're being asked to do and methodology to be used, the extent that you can use us will rise or fall. There are some folks who are obviously mandated to do it in certain ways. Fortunately, maybe we're not going to be as helpful there. But we are traditionally used to help with literature reviews, find relevant papers, zero in on your question, but not necessarily completely automate the literature review process. It's more of a co-pilot than an automating the literature review process. Awesome. I will start with a question.
Yes, please. So I think some people who already experienced all the consensus, but someone is new. So I would like to ask the audience who are this is your first time that you heard this is a consensus. If this is your first time, is place 1. But if you have some experience, is place 2. So please have some interaction. Okay, some is mostly is the first time about the consensus. So Eric, you should come to Thailand. You should come to Thailand and do the roadshow because in Thailand we work with U.S. Embassy. I mean the Department of Commerce, and then some startup company from the U.S. they come to Thailand to explore for the opportunities.
Yeah.
So please next time. So please okay. So please continue.
I was hoping that we're going to get a lot of ones, because then that means that I can share a lot more, and then we'll get a bunch of new users from this. So this is great. So yeah, I'll describe all how it works. I'll go through a few use cases, walk through all the features within the product. So the core use case, when you come to Consensus, you ask a question. So in this case, I'll start with something pretty simple. Does visceral fat cause cancer? You can ask a nice natural language question. And to one of the other questions in the chat there, what is happening now, before anything happens, we are first searching for papers. So we are going to try to find papers related to this question. Now, what you're looking at, each one of these tiles is a research paper. What is in the gray box is what our language models have pulled out of the paper that is hopefully related to your question. If you guys have learned about AI methodology, you can think of this as a giant RAG system, a giant retrieval augmented generation system. We are first retrieving, finding papers, then we're going to do some AI analysis. Each one of these is a paper. If you were to click into it, it'll take you directly to the abstract. You can then also link to the full text if it is available. It looks like in this case, it is available. Back. but there's so many more things that the product can do, and there's so many more delightful AI features with it. So I talked about how you can get this insight on the paper level. But what's really interesting sometimes is getting insights across multiple papers. So to start, you can click this synthesize button. So what you're looking at up here is on the left, we have our simple one-sentence summary of the top 10 papers. It's a model that's trained to just always spit out one sentence. It's designed to give you an overview of the research papers. On the right, you have one of our flagship features. It's called the consensus meter. If you've asked a yes/no question, this model will look at the papers and it will try to classify which side of the fence does this paper lean. It's not meant to be 100% definitive. There's obviously much context missing, but it can help you zero in on what way the research is leaning. And for a more mixed question, in this case, this is a very obviously yes, fat does help, does increase the risk of cancer. But if it's a more mixed question, you can actually filter by yes, no, or possibly. So if you wanted to dig in onto contrasting research or supporting research, you can quickly do that up here. And you have these tags as well that help you indicate, did this paper suggest yes or no to my question? Going down back to the paper level before I show you some more of these AI features, we also have these awesome tags on our product. Most of these are also predicted by AI models. So we have a model that reads the paper and tries to classify what the methodology of the study is. So in this case, this one was classified as an observational study. If we keep looking down, hopefully we have looks like a lot of observational studies. So here we go. Here's a literature review. We have about 10 different classes of methodologies that I'll show you here in a second, but a really cool application of AI to help guide you toward the more quality research that you're looking for. Another really cool AI model on the paper level is if you click the study snapshot, we have 4 different models that will run right when you click that, and it will pull out some of the most important details of the paper. So you don't even have to click into a paper. While you're still on the search results screen, you can get this very valuable information. It will tell you who the population was. It will tell you how many people it was ran on, if relevant. It will tell you a more detailed breakdown of the methodology. So in this case, the big bucket is observational study. The more nuanced bucket is it was a case control study. And then it will also show you the outcomes that were measured. We're interested in continuing to add more things to this feature. Would love feedback from all of you guys when you use the product. If you wanted more things added here, but we hope it's a very valuable way to quickly get the information you're looking for without ever having to even go into the paper yet to really narrow down on the research that you're looking for. And something that's really fun that a lot of our users love that we've recently added is another powerful AI feature that we call Copilot. So if you click Copilot, this will give you a more in-depth, deeper, longer summary across all the research papers. So in the top left, you have your one-sentence summary. Copilot is going to go many steps deeper and give you a longer summary to what you're asking. And there's a lot of other cool things you can do with this that I'll show you here in a second. And yes, so there's a really great question in there of how can we be sure that the paper that Consensus gave to us is truly relevant? Yeah, so that is what our models are designed to do. Is one of the things we have guardrailed in the product is we won't put it into the summary if we don't believe that it answers your question. So if I type in nonsense, none of these models will fire. They won't be allowed to. It looks like this one still did, but that's a bad example. But it basically, we have a model that will analyze the paper against your question, give it a score, and then if it is over a certain threshold, will it be sent the summary meter model or the Copilot model. And then, how to be checking yourself would be like using any other search product. Because we have these insights directly here on the page in the gray box, it should allow for you a quick analysis of, hey, did this paper actually address my question? Is this actually relevant to me? Hopefully that made sense to that question. Awesome. I'm going to show another awesome example. So we're going to stick with the yes, no question because I think this is a pretty cool one. We're going to say, does fish oil improve mood? So here's a great one where we have some pretty mixed findings on this. It's not a clear yes, no question. This is a great example of if you were wanting to do a literature review and you were trying to look for contrasting evidence, you can filter by the no's really quickly and only find the papers that leaned no. Obviously, you could do the same for yes. Very powerful feature there. But what I really wanted to show with this is our AI-powered filters. So if you're doing research, obviously you want to try to find the research that's most generalizable to humans, to patients, to whatever you're doing research on. So we allow you to filter by many different things. So obviously we have some of the basics, or you can filter by year, open access, citation count. But what's really powerful is that you can filter by all these different study types. So you could come in and say, I only want randomized control trials. But even deeper, you could say, I only want randomized controlled trials on humans. And I only want them done with over 50 members within the study. So with just a few clicks, you can run a search that will only return you randomized controlled trials done on humans with a sample size over 50. And I think this is a really cool example where when you do that, the research is a lot less definitive. And you'll definitely see that that is the case when using consensus. As I'm sure many people on here know, there is a yes bias in research many times. And the best way to cut through some of that bias is to apply filters for really actually well-powered, rigorous studies. So we'd love to give this example, especially for people doing biomedical research, especially for doctors, being able to filter for studies that are generalizable to humans. Hopefully there's some, yep, we have nice tags on all of them indicating that they're randomized control trials. Why don't we pop open one of these study snapshots, and it will tell you who the patients were, how many folks were involved. It confirms that it was a randomized control trial and talks about the outcomes that were measured. And to show just some of the other filters, we also allow you to filter for journal quartile. So this is like a impact factor metric. Obviously not perfect, but can sometimes is relevant for the research that you're doing. And also allow to filter for field of study. This is pretty important for folks who might be asking questions that have meaning applications and meanings in different domains. To give an example, I was meeting with a researcher who was doing research on traditional architecture, and he was complaining that the product many times would bring up software engineering architecture questions. So he really enjoyed the domain filtering where you could say, hey, I only want actual architecture, not software engineering. So show another example of another type of question. So I showed two yes, no questions. Why don't I show a different type of question? Let's go. What is the best treatment for restless leg syndrome? So again, first and foremost, down here, we have our papers being returned. This case looks like we have some great diversity in the type of research we're getting. We have some systematic reviews, some RCTs. We have very question-relevant insights that are being returned right away for you. And then up top, we have all of our awesome AI features that are giving you the one-sentence summary and doing the Copilot expanded research. We have another question here saying, consensus can access 200 million papers. Does this cover all essential publications in medicine and healthcare? It would all depend on your definition of essential. We have every Q1 journal coverage in the product. So generally speaking, we do quite well with coverage. I'm sure by some definitions of essential in medicine and healthcare, we probably are missing some. Again, in America, PubMed is the place where most doctors in medicine and healthcare began their research, and we have the entirety of PubMed. within our product. So if you guys have ever used PubMed and think about the coverage there, you can think about us as having the same papers within. Yeah, something I didn't show with the Copilot, as I mentioned at the start, because of our search, because we're returning papers first, you are always one click away from the paper. So even in this expanded summary, you can click on one of these numbers, it will take you right down to the paper, which you could then click into yourself and go and see if this one might or might not have the full text, unsure, but you can go reference that paper yourself. Awesome. So another feature that I did not show that is a lot of our users love is some of our workflow features. So some of the things that aren't AI powered, but can help speed up whatever process you're doing. So the simplest is if you need to cite something, we have an auto citation generator. Not necessarily revolutionary, but a very helpful small feature that many of our users love. Additionally, we do integrate with Zotero. So if you have a Zotero plugin, you can export this directly to Zotero. Similarly, you can export this whole list to a CSV and return all the papers directly in the CSV format. Share that too. But what is really one of the things that is really powerful that a lot of your users love is our saved papers, bookmarking, creating lists feature. So if you just click here, it will save the paper for you. You can create your own custom list with that question name on it. Save that paper. You want to say, hey, I want to save this paper and add it to that list. And something that's quite cool is you can save this search to that list as well. Then if you want to go back and reference that, click open your bookmarks, click on that question. You'll have the papers that you saved right here. And then you'll actually also have the search that you saved right here. If you've applied filters, it will also save the filters that you had applied to that search. So if you had a search that was really relevant to the research that you're doing that you want to revisit, you can always save it within your bookmarks and custom lists tab. Back. Why don't I show something that's really cool? So I showed you guys how Copilot, when you just ask a question, it gives you this nice longer summary with citations. But there's a lot more that it can do. So if you want to, a big tip for all of this is whenever you're searching on consensus, try to have there be a research question at the core of what you're asking. Again, because we're searching for papers first, that's what's going to make it the most useful and efficient to find you the papers first. But there are things that you can do that are more like a chatbot. So if you start with a question, you can come in and you can add some context and say, make it a quick, short, bulleted list. So you can add some formatting context. You can add some, some requests. So I can show you some more examples. But this is how the Copilot can interact with what your search is. It can be flexible. And in this case, I said, make a quick short list, and it can make that quick short list for you. Something we're really proud of that our users really love. And what's really cool about it is it always will have the citations always in it. It is always instructed to cite things for you. Another thing we've seen with researchers and students, especially, show another example. You could say, write me outline of a lit review. And again, something that's really cool in all of this, I keep saying it, but it's super important, is the papers that are going to be referenced are always directly below this window. So we're first going to find you the papers for this question, then our model is going to take in this context and then create this flexible response for you. Again, always with those citations. This is a particular type of response that our users in school and doing research really, really love. And I have another question about the GPT product. Yes, you are right. The Copilot is very similar to the GPT. That is why we launched it, is how much positive feedback we got from our GPT app. We wanted to bring that similar experience to our main product. But as you can see, there are many things in our main product that are offered that are not with GPT. I want to show another cool example of this. So another way that I think for doctors we've seen used before If you're exploring a question you're not sure about, you've been asked a question, you want to do a quick overview of where the research lies. A way that we've seen folks use Copilot is doing something like this. Ask a question, and then you say, group together the pro and con arguments. So should even be able to do this, where it takes the question and then it says, okay, I'm going to give you the stance on one side, and I'm going to give you the stance on the other side, referencing the papers and coalescing across the research and coming up with the arguments on both sides of the fence. I think this is a really, really cool, powerful way to use the Copilot. You can get pretty creative. Again, my biggest piece of advice when using this is there should always be a research question at its core. This is some of the same power of ChatGPT and the flexibility of it, but you're not just talking to a chatbot. You're talking to a search engine with some chatbot-like features around it. So you shouldn't come in and just say, hey, write me a paragraph about what time it is tomorrow in Paris, or what the weather's going to be like in Paris tomorrow. ChatGPT would be great for that. You shouldn't come to consensus for it. You should have a research topic question, and then you can layer in those requests. Talked a lot. Definitely take a pause here while I'm still in the product. Is there any questions at all I can answer for anybody on this call?
Yes, I would like some comments. I'm not sure, Professor Surasak, feel free to talk. He is the Dean of the Pharmacy Faculty. Yeah, he one of the great researcher in Thailand. So, of course, in the past, I think he do the research in the traditional way. He do a lot of the meta-analysis and network meta. So, Professor Surasak, so what do you think about this product?
Hi, Eric.
Hello.
Yes, I think it's quite good for me to how to generate the question and how to analyze questions. But in terms of the systematic review and meta-analysis, I'm not sure how to search or how to make the process of the systematic review on consensus. Can you demonstrate that?
Yeah, I guess my first question would be back to you of when you're beginning that process. What is it that you come to a search engine with? Do you have your question that you're going to be doing the systematic review on? Are you just starting with a very broad topic? What does that look like when you use another academic search tool? Do you mind providing some color on that? What do you have in your, when you're about to do a search, if you weren't using consensus, if you're about to do a search on whatever product you use now, what are you typically typing in? Do you just type in the topic of the systematic review? How do you start that process?
No, I mean, if I have the questions, the topic research, and then I want to systematic review. For traditional way, I try to search via the LET database, like a PubMed, Scopus, something like that. But for the consensus, I don't know the behind the skin with the database that includes in the consensus. So how to do that?
Yeah. I think that's something that we would love to get more feedback on, to figure out how to have that transparency and teach the user how the search is working so that they feel comfortable using it in the same way. But it is at its core going to be very similar to using PubMed if you're asking biomedical questions, just with these add-on features. So my advice would be, you can use whatever way you would search in PubMed, you can do that same thing here on consensus. If you're doing a systematic review on zinc and depression, you can start with just asking that question, typing in those 2 keywords, and you should get back a ton of relevant biomedical research, many of which will be from PubMed about that subject. And you can go through it and comb it the same way that you would within PubMed, saving your papers to your list and whatnot. I think something that also is very powerful that I know PubMed also has, PubMed does actually a good job of this, is having those filters. So if your systematic review has a time frame on it, or you can only include papers of a certain methodology, you could do that same filter in here with consensus. So if you only wanted, maybe your criteria is needs to have over 25 citations published after 2015, and I only want direct experimental studies. If you were going to do that same search in PubMed, you can do that same search here. And again, have those papers that are hopefully related to this question. So, would depend on what is the criteria of the methodology you need to be using on PubMed, of how much research to be combing through, but it really is going to be doing a very similar thing, hopefully returning papers that are relevant to what you're asking. And you don't even need to turn on the Copilot feature. You could just treat it like a regular paper search product first. Does that make sense?
Yes, good. Thank you.
Of course.
So, Eric, that means in the future, we can write down in the literature that, okay, I use this keyword and search on the consensus, right?
Yeah, we have people doing that today. And again, it would depend your reviewers and the place you're wanting to publish your research. Maybe they wouldn't be happy with that yet. We expect them to be in the future as we continue to get usage. But if you type in consensus.app on Google Scholar, we have hundreds of references already. But again, great. I don't want to speak for where your guys are doing research and where you're publishing. Maybe that they have criteria where you're not allowed. In that case, you can kind of use it behind the scenes. But in the US, we are starting to be used in papers and systematic reviews.
Oh, great.
I'm not sure. Do we need to subscribe the products?
Yeah, so you have to create an account, which is 100% free. Everything you're looking at on the screen now is 100% free to use. The only things that are part of our premium tier are our powerful AI features like Synthesize and Copilot. However, you are allowed you get 20 free AI credits within Consensus. So you can actually use these features 20 times a month before you then would have to be a part of the premium tier. We try to make it fairly affordable. Premium tier is only about $10 a month, but we also try to keep lots free. The search is always free. Just the study snapshot, Synthesize, and Copilot cost AI credits.
Okay, thank you. Good.
Sure. Professor Surasak, as you are dean of the faculty, you have to pay for your student. So, Eric, please share your email, okay? Maybe Professor Surasak will
absolutely. We do work with
student.
I love it. We do work directly with organizations. We have where there are organizations paying us to get access to students or researchers. So if you all work at an institution or a university and want to discuss that, I can post my email in here, and please feel free to email me and we can have that discussion. We try to give pretty big discounts for healthcare and student use cases, and can definitely have that discussion. Have two questions in there. How often are the publications updated in Consensus? Monthly. So right now the research is up to date to February 2024. By the start of April, it should be updated to March 2024. And then another question about if we use Consensus for a literature review process, should we mention it in our paper? Again, we have many people doing that today, but it would depend on what the criteria is of where you're publishing or where you're doing research. If it is allowed or not, I don't want to suggest something that isn't allowed, but we do have plenty of people doing that and mentioning this as a methodology that they've used.
Great. And I think I invite some of my colleagues. He is the distributor of the Elsevier in Thailand. So maybe she will contact you later, because I plan to, of course, expand this knowledge to Thai researcher and Thai med student. How to use your application.
I just got a question about, is Consensus publication available in other languages? So we actually just launched this feature. So the vast majority of research within consensus is in English. Obviously, most research is published in English, but we actually just launched a translate feature. So not the entire product is not translated, but you can search in a different language, and we should be able to handle that search under the hood and still return relevant papers. So if you see here, even though I typed in not English language, it still did return relevant papers. And here, if I do a full question, it should also translate elsewhere. Why don't I say? And then the summary features should actually respond in whatever language you have typed in. Another question was just asked about can it access Thai publications? I actually don't know if there are specifically Thai publications within there. We do have publications from around the world in other languages. How much coverage there is in Thai publications, I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, here's a cool example where if you type in another language, the summary and the Copilot features will respond in whatever language that you have typed in. The papers themselves still, though, will be in English, but these features will be in your native language, and we can handle that under the hood search back to English.
So I do have some questions. So
Please?
that means consensus don't have the hallucination, right?
Say it again.
The consensus doesn't have the hallucination as the ChatGPT, right? The hallucination.
Yeah, there can still be errors, but because of the way that we are not just generating text from thin air, we are using language models over top of documents. The rate of incorrect information is minuscule and significantly more effective than ChatGPT. But even more importantly, one of the biggest hallucination problems with ChatGPT is if you ask it to reference a paper, it will very confidently make up a paper. We have that happen 0% of the time for us because of the way our product works. Our product searches first. There has to be a paper there. It will never make up a paper. The only thing that our product could do is from this Copilot from this paper to this Copilot, it still can misinterpret what it's saying, but it will never make up a paper, and it is always just one click away from that paper for you. So I'm not going to say it's flawless. It obviously isn't, but a lot of those errors and issues you'll see in ChatGPT, we won't have because of the way the product is set up.
I see. Okay, that is
exactly right in
question.
the chat window. Consensus will not make up. I can promise that. Any more questions?
Yes, so I do have the question for the audience. So after this session, do you think you will try to use the consensus? If you plan to use the consensus, press 1. Okay, but if you think that okay, there's nothing, you press 1. Okay. So if you think you will follow the traditional way, press 2.
Or
Let's
both.
check.
You can say 1 and 2.
Okay, mostly 1. Okay, I think that's I reach the objective of this meeting to introduce the new tools to Thai researcher, Thai doctors. Okay, and there's some.
Yep, there's a great question there. The process of the question is the process of consensus take in a question, transform it into keywords using AI, and then search publications related to those keywords. That is about 80% of it. You're very, very close. We can actually handle true questions. So if you've just asked a question, we actually don't do much transformation under the hood to go searching. If you've typed in a very long prompt, so you've said, hey, I want to find research about so-and-so in this format and da-da-da-da-da, we then will use GenAI to distill down that prompt to a good research query. So you're very close to being right. The only difference is with the power of the new semantic relevance we have, you actually don't need to just distill it to keywords because it can actually learn about some of the intent from a question. But the way you're thinking about it is very right. We take a prompt, we turn it into a research query, and then search publications to find for you. Great question, Myron.
So I'm not sure there are any questions. So if there don't have any question, thank you for your time, Eric. Okay.
This was a
Okay. There's another question.
Yeah. So the question was, can you compare using Consensus on the app versus the GPT? So for those who might not be aware, I can show you guys here. We have the concept of a GPT, which means we have our own custom GPT application. What this is our search engine being plugged into ChatGPT. So you could do a lot of the same things, ask questions, and we'll return you a response with research being cited in it. The main difference is all you're getting from this is the papers returned back, and then it's just ChatGPT summarizing it. So all it's going to say is just give you an insight and then cite a paper, which is really, really great. It's very, very flexible because you can, ask follow-up questions, tell it to respond in certain formats, all of the wonderful things about ChatGPT, but you're missing all of the amazing things that come with within the search engine, most notably. I'll ask that same question. All of this enriched metadata that we've added to the product to try to make research more efficient and effective for you is not included in the GPT. So the GPT is just going to be text with links. In here, you have these paper tiles, you have all of these tags, you have this study snapshot feature that can dive deeper into the study for you. You have this ability to share, cite, save. None of that is possible in the GPT. There's not any of these add-on features. And then also, we don't have the meter or the summary within the GPT as well. Again, all the GPT is getting papers into ChatGPT for it to then give you a summary response. So for some use cases, this is great. Some users prefer this, but there is a lot more robustness and add-on features within our main product. But they're both our products, so feel free to use either. We have lots of users who use both.
Okay, thank you. So I think last but not least, we have to take a picture together, Eric.
Absolutely.
I will do the screen capture. So
You
for
want me
the
to
audience,
have you want me to put the presentation back up, or do you want to do it as a full audience?
I think for the whole audience is much better.
Great.
So anybody, if you can turn on the camera, please turn on your camera. Okay. Okay, so that's okay,ครับ. I will count. Okay, there's a lot of the audience you can see. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you. 1, 2, 3. Excellent.
You got to send me that.
Yeah, I will send it to you. Okay.
Thank you everybody for your attention and questions. We are still a young startup company, so it is by no means a perfect product. There are things that you guys want to see improved. You guys now have my email address. There is a support portal within the product. We're always open to user feedback. We're trying to improve the product every day. Definitely encourage you all to use it and try it out.
Thank you. ขอบคุณครับ สวัสดีครับ บ๊ายบาย Have a good day
thank you ขอบคุณค่ะ
ขอบคุณอาจารย์ทุกท่านครับสวัสดีครับ